Hi everyone, my name is Callie. I am a National Board Certified Special Education teacher, and today I'm going to be walking you through my behavior tracking bundle that I have on Teachers Pay Teachers. I'm just going to show you how to use the daily behavior charts, the Google form that it comes with, and then also the Google Sheet to track your students' data. This is something for the past 6 years that I've been using for students with autism and ADHD, but it is not limited to those students. You can really use it for any student that has behavior concerns. So when you go to purchase this product, you're going to get the directions page. This is where you are going to find all of the recommendations that I have, as long as the links, as well as the links to the Google form, the 9 templates of behavior charts, and you're also going to see how the Google form and the sheet tracks. So looking at the directions, these links right here are going to be where you find the Google Doc and the Google Sheet. The Google Sheet automatically pulls a Google form with it. The two are linked. So that is already taken care of for you. There's nothing else necessarily you have to do. So let's go ahead and look at it. Today I'm going to be using one of my other Gmail accounts just to show you what it would likely look like for you. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this link. This is something you would have purchased on the Teachers Pay Teachers store. And then when it pops up, it's going to ask me to make a copy of this document. I'm going to say yes, make a copy. And then here you go. This is where you will have, again, the 9 behavior charts. I'm going to go ahead and check my drive to see that it populated, and that is it right here. In order to keep you from messing up a student sheet, it's just best to have a master copy, and then for each individual student, you're going to make multiple copies of that. So there's my master copy. I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of it. And I might have to make this a little bigger just so I can find it. And today we're going to be using me as a practice student. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this. I'm going to say Callie's behavior sheet. Okay. And then now that I've made this copy, I'm just going to go in and start tweaking the template that I want. So for me, the student Callie, I'm going to use the one with 2 goals. So I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of this, and I'm going to call it, Callie's daily behavior chart. And I'm going to leave the date blank because this is something you will print out and use daily for your students. So I've already set up the point system for you. This might be if I were, younger or an elementary student, I would use these visuals to see how I'm tracking on my goal. So the point system I've created is for 0 points. You're going to get this semi-frowny face that says you're not quite there today. This little curious faces, I tried, but maybe I didn't get to the goal that my teacher had set for me. And then a smiley face is great job, you met the criteria. So here I have 2 separate goal columns, one that I recommend is an easier goal and the other that I recommend as a target behavior. I know that my student Callie, her target behavior is going to be staying focused during lessons. So the target goal will be Callie will stay focused for 70% of the lesson. And so if that were like a 40-minute block or a 45-minute block, we'd be looking at 30 minutes or above. So my target behavior is going to be Callie will stay focused for 70% of the lesson. That would be a little bit more challenging for me. The goal that's a little bit easier for me, I'm going to say Callie will stay quiet at her desk for 80% of the class. And the reason why I recommend having a little bit of an easier goal and a target behavior is because target behaviors are going to be challenging for a student. And so it would start to deter their confidence if they kept seeing zeros and zeros and zeros on the chart or always frowny faces. So I feel like it's a good balance to have something that's an expected behavior and that's something they can easily do and something that's a little bit more challenging. That way they can see success with the chart and still get consequences or have moments for reflection if they need to do better. So based on the criteria that I have here, this is the goal that they're trying to meet. And then to make it as specific as possible, I'm going to say what a 1 is. So staying quiet at my desk maybe is 70 to 80% of the class. And then not meeting the goal would be anything less than 70%. With my target behavior, this is a little bit more challenging for me to meet. So I tried, but I didn't really get there. I'm going to say that's 50 to 70% of the class. And then anything lower than me staying focused for 50% of the class would result in a 0. So it's good to have this criteria set ahead of time. That way teachers know exactly what they need to score and it can be consistent across all teachers using this chart. You'll need to know your student's schedule in order to fill out the rest of it. So I may say that this is Miss B's reading block, and I might make it the small group because I'm a special education teacher. You can use the times or you don't have to. They're just there in case you want them. So then for Miss B's reading small group block, Miss B would be responsible for filling out this chart. Now, Miss B is also the case manager, so she is responsible for figuring out the rest of this and scoring it. So down here in the red, you're going to put the possible points and the earned points. What I like to do is I like to go ahead and leave this blank so I can add it. I know by counting these that there are 20 total points that Callie can get in this goal area. And that is the same for this other goal area. Quick note, if you have lunch or recess and there's not really staying quiet at desk, you can just remove the block or remove the emojis. And then this gives me a spot to write this in at the end of the day. So the total earned points, I'm going to leave that blank as well because that's going to be dependent on the day. And then there are 40 points possible. That is the combined amount of each of the two goal areas. When you do the total points they earned divided by the total points they could have gotten, you'll get the percentage. Now, Callie's goal is going to be 80%. So 80% of 40, you're going to do 0.8 times 40, and that will give you the number 32. So that just gives you a quick reference. 32 points, you met your goal. Anything lower than that, you didn't. And if I wanted to specify, I could say 80%. So it's very customizable for whatever it is you need for your students. Again, if you were actually doing this, you'd go in and fill out the schedule. Okay, now I'm going to show you what the Google Sheet and Google Form look like. So when you go to grab the sheet and form, you're going to put this URL into another tab, and you're going to make a copy of this document. So here is the Excel sheet that it is populated with, and here is the Google Form that automatically downloaded with it. Now, because this is your copy, there could be some settings that you need to change. So as an example, right now, this form isn't accepting responses because you probably have to edit it. Here's your Google sheet that comes with clicking this link. And then when you go to your drive, you're also going to notice there is the master form right there. These two documents are synced. Whatever you put in this form will populate in this master copy. So whenever I go to click on the form, it brings me to this page. Because I have to make edits, I will likely have to manage the settings and accept responses after I'm done making the edits. Again, I do think it is wise for you to make a master copy and then make a separate copy for your students' individual behavior tracker. So I'm going to rename this again. I'm going to say Callie's behavior data. And then this is going to be the one that I tweak for Callie. I'm going to pull her chart up to the side. I'm going to say, okay, the first goal we want is for Callie to stay quiet at her desk. So I'm literally just going to put that goal here. And I will put that goal in the goal 1 box. You want to put the percentage of that first column in this question when you go to fill it out. There is a date of chart because I think that is helpful. And then I'm also going to put the goal here, which is the second goal. And I'm going to put it in the spot for the second goal. I'm also going to make this the second question of my form. And now I have 2 spots to enter scores for Callie's behavior. Now you'll notice on here that this question is optional. Question 3, and that's just because if you're using a chart with 2 goals as opposed to 3 goals, you don't need to fill this out. If it's easier for you, you can just go ahead and delete that question, and it'll delete on your Google Sheet as well. So once you have it looking how you want, if you already know your reminders, you know you can go ahead and delete that as well, so that it looks just simple, easy, like this. Because you've made a master copy of this Google form and then made an individual copy, a Google Sheet may not populate. So you always want to go to responses and check that it is linked to a sheet and it's linked to a new sheet if it doesn't already exist. So here you can see this is exactly the sheet that aligns with Callie's behavior goals. And those are the 2 goals there. Staying quiet at her desk, staying focused for 70% of the lesson, the percentage for the day, and any notes or observations. Those are important in case you want to start tracking patterns with your students' behavior. Okay, when you are ready to start entering data, your form looks good, your sheet looks good, you're going to go ahead and publish it to anyone with a link. Okay, so when you publish it, here's your responder link. In my email, I like to go ahead and say to the email I'm sending it to, again, I'm just using myself as an example, but this could be the EC teacher, this could be the case manager, whoever. Callie's behavior form. I like to pin this at the top of my email just because it's helpful to me whenever I need to find it. So I will go ahead here, click on this, and then now I am a responder. So whenever I go to collect this data, I'm going to respond to the link. So let's go ahead and say that it's today. The percent of times she stayed at her desk was 70% of the time, or 70% of the day, and staying focused for 70% of the lesson. She did that about 80% of the day. To get the total points, you would go ahead and add those up. I'm just, for ease, going to say 70 plus 80 equals 150 divided by 2. And that is going to be 75% of the day she met her goal. I'm going to say science was a little rough. She was pretty distracted. Now, whenever I go to her form, I can see that it has been filled out based on the form. We just did that today at 2:11. The date of her behavior chart, the goal, the percent points, and the notes. They're all there. So this is the example of the student that I have from last year. I covered up his notes just for confidentiality reasons. One of the things that I like to do when it comes to using this data for IEP meetings or behavior intervention plans, I like to go through each column, go to the sigma and get an average, and that way I can look at this goal of listening to teachers for 80% of the class. He did that 95% of the time, which is really good. That means that he's met this goal. One of the challenging behaviors that he had was completing his work, and I wanted him to do that 80% of the time. Again, I'm going to get my average. 72%. We're not exactly there, so we may need some additional scaffolds in place. When it comes to staying respectful in class, again, I'm just highlighting the entire column, going to the sigma, getting the average, 92%. That looks great. His daily goal average is 80%. So again, just scrolling down, getting the average, and boom. Instead of going through 118 individual data sheets to do the math to figure out what my student scored and how he's doing throughout the day, I was just able to go to this Google Sheet and get an average and see how he's doing. It saves you time in the long run. It takes a while to set up, yes, but once you have it and get familiar with it, then it is much easier to use a sheet like this in order to get behavior data as opposed to flipping through every individual sheet when it comes to writing IEPs or sitting in MTSS discussions. This is really just the teacher tool that has worked for me and hopefully will work for you.